Right, so the traditions in the Big Book of AA, or any, like, the Big Book of AA is what every 12 step group is formulated from. So I'm I'm not imposing anything that I am AA or this is AA. It's just the hard fact that in today's age there's over 120 some different published recovery based 12 step programs, and they all derive from the structure of the Big Book of AA. And to give context to that, the 12 traditions are not part of the Big Book of AA. The 12 steps are the Big Book of AA. The 12 traditions were not even implemented till 20 years after the program. In 1953, Bill W. writ the traditions, and if so, this I'll be transparent here. A lot of what I know is not speculation, but it's, to me, it's obvious, and this is one part of it. The Big Book was the structure of the steps. Bill W. and the founders of AA found a way to share experience, strength, and hope with a suggestive only guideline where one alcoholic can help another. And for that, for them to put it in a book that was in their age, the easiest way to create a structure that could get widespread. So they developed a book where one alcoholic can have this book and nothing more but that book. And because it's suggestive only, it can fit anybody's circumstance, all around the world, anyone's circumstance, because it's suggestive only. And that's where the take what you need and leave it shit is. People take that so convoluted to they take all these sayings and they just turn it into this manipulative, toxic bullshit just to back up the fact that they were either wrong or they knew they were wrong, or they knew they were going against it. And it's just ammo. You take little clips of anything just to back up your bullshit. Anyways, yeah, these little sayings, like, people just take something good and they just destroy it. And I will bring friction. You're gonna wanna attack me. You're gonna fucking hate me for bringing up what I'm saying. But this is not for my personal benefit. I know that. So I have this thing where helping others at the expense of myself is, I guess, an issue. But because it's at the expense of myself, I don't have to distrust its true intention. I don't even trust my own intention. I don't trust humans to the fundamental core, so much so that I don't trust my own fucking intentions. So when I'm helping people or something as a whole, and it's overall gonna be bad for me for a while, I don't have to really over assess my intentions behind doing it, because it's just leading me into further pain. But I know it's for the greater good. So the 12 traditions are in the fourth edition of the Big Book. The fourth edition, they have the 12 traditions on page 562, just blanket statement, and then a long form. So you got your short form, which is what you read at every meeting, and then you have your long form, which is not that much longer. But the traditions were just a structure. So when one alcoholic has this book, they can literally go and evangelistically save a life by helping another alcoholic, just by showing them the book, explaining how the book can help them, explaining that they're not alone, explaining their addiction is not uncommon, there is a better way, it takes work, but it's a proven fact that this has helped many, and their life was unimaginably better because of it. That's basically the entire structure of the book itself. I just summed up all of it right there for you. The traditions, however, are when a group of recovering addicts or alcoholics get together and they collaborate together, you're going to have conflicting ideas. You're going to have conflicting opinions. The steps are suggestive only, so it could fit everyone. But when you put people in a group structure, there's going to be conflict. It's human nature. It's nature. You just, no two things are going to be even remotely close to each other. That's the fundamental facts of physics. No two structures, especially something as complex as a human, is going to be even remotely close to the next. So when you have 3 or more people in a room together and it's recovery based, you need a structure that helps alleviate the tension. Otherwise it starts becoming toxic. People start fighting, there's controversy, there will be manipulation, there will be control. But unfortunately, all of that is so constant in the rooms. Everything that the traditions are trying to protect against, people are taking and using for fuel for it. That's what you're doing. When you're trying to imply the traditions are meant for personal recovery, you may not, it's through most people's no fault of their own, but with awareness, you need to stop. If you hear this, take a look at it, at why you can, like I said to somebody, if you get something good out of the traditions that you apply to your personal recovery, that's beautiful. I can get something from a McDonald's bag that I can apply to recovery depending on the mind state and the time I read it. And if it's good, it's good. That's wonderful. But to imply the traditions are part of the steps and not just the structure of a group setting is where all the controversy and the toxic behavior comes from. All the hate, all the butting heads, all the laziness, all the confusion, all the manipulation. If you are not someone who wants to go and rescue more people, you don't have to. The structure of the steps are suggestive only. You can do them however you want. You could do them to whatever step you want. You can not take anybody through them. If you want to complete them, the 12th step is to repeat the process with somebody else. But that's the structure of the steps that are personal. The structure of the traditions are not negotiable. They will not overlap with the steps. One's suggestive, one's not negotiable. That's a clear fucking line for a very important reason. Not negotiable is the group setting. 12 steps, personal experience. Once you have that understanding, everything kind of falls into place a lot easier. And all it takes is that phrase I just said about not negotiable and personal, like suggestive only and not negotiable. A clear line dividing that there is no overlap. Again, there's a constant thing that I hear from everybody that I bring this awareness to, that they get a lot of good from their recovery out of the traditions. That's wonderful. But you get a lot of good for your recovery out of 90% of, well, more than 90% of the sayings that come from recovery came from other self-help shit. More than 90%, easily. Anything that you have, it's because it's just humans that are applying it to recovery. It comes from other places. But you add, you take good from this, you apply it to this. That's what it is. That's what recovery is. Self-help, all the shit in this book didn't come from one mind. It came from human experience and an anecdote of recovery needed structure. So, yeah, if you get something from the traditions that help your personal experience, it's wonderful. Stop implying or stop forcing the idea that the traditions are a way where you can control other people's recovery. That is all you're doing. You're trying to control recovery, and it's spreading to the masses, and it's keeping the room smaller. At the thing last night, the guy brought up the fact that the rooms are struggling for attendance. They're struggling for newcomers. If not for treatment centers, we wouldn't have newcomers because of this toxic idea that has spread to the masses of recovery. Without treatment centers, government intervention, literally one of these traditions that everybody's fucking so uppity and so hardcore about, until even though they contradict themselves, I hear it in their fucking, I've heard a contradiction in a single sentence with the traditions. It drives me nuts. But it states how we are supposed to, although we can collaborate with, we are supposed to stay out of government intervention. You can collaborate with because you have to, otherwise society would not coincide with it. But treatment centers using the steps, treatment centers forcing people through, people do a set of steps within less than 2 months when they go to a treatment center. And that's recovery. That's what recovery is. You got a bunch of newcomers leading the blind leading the blind. You have newcomers taking people through steps and then insisting they know what the fuck they're talking about. But nobody, 20 years of recovery, people have zero idea of what the fuck the traditions mean. It's just, it's nuts, but it's so clear, simple. The traditions are the structure of the group. You have more than 2 alcoholics in one room. The traditions are the structure of that group. You don't have to abide by them, but if you want to call yourself a part of whatever group it is, NA or AA or anything, if you want to be that, you must adhere to these traditions. Your group must follow these traditions. However, these traditions do state that your group doesn't have to be identical to another group. That's where your personal anonymity comes in for the most part. When these traditions were written, it's like your group's personal anonymity. Yeah, there's a reason for personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films and shit like that. There is. That's a longer topic to go into. There's a reasoning for that. If I were to say I am AA and put it out to the masses, like everybody does on social medias and everything anyways, but if I were to say that I am AA, which I don't, but that could be the only thing that people think it is. The same as if somebody were to record their home group and the structure of that setting and then put that out into the world, which that happens all the fucking time now with the Zoom meetings and stuff, that people could get a misinterpreted idea on what recovery is, because it seems like that is what it is. That's what one is. That doesn't mean that's what it all is. But when people have the interpretation that that's what it all is, you start knocking people out of the ability to want to be there or to actually be there. So right here, where, what is it? Which tradition was it? I think it was tradition 10, 9 or 10. Ought never be organized. Me create service boards and committees. No, it was. So it's probably a mix of like tradition 8 and tradition 10. So tradition 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional. Service centers may employ special workers. Oh no, it'd be tradition 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn in public controversy. Shit, I should have done a little more reading. Should never in such a way implicate or any opinion, controversial ideas. Okay, so it's not those ones either. It is only requirement for a group purpose, ultimate authority. That's not weird. Okay, so maybe it's tradition 2. No. Tradition 2 doesn't even have a long form. They're like, that's enough. That's all you need. Tradition 3. Our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism, hence we may refuse no one who wish to recover, nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any 2 or 3 alcoholics gathered together for sobriety may call themselves an AA group. Okay, I had it wrong. 2 alcoholics can call themselves a group, provided that as a group they have no other affiliation. This is all talking about how treatment centers, the way they're doing it, treatment centers are not supposed to be pushing people through steps. I don't care if the person identifies in it. He's getting paid to be there. There is one that it says, with respect to its own affairs, should be responsible to any authority then so. With respect to its own affairs, this is tradition 4 long form. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. So that autonomous means your group, your home group, should be able to run without the intervention. Your main goal for your home group is supposed to be able to run without the intervention of AA as a whole to help it out. That's its purpose. That doesn't mean AA will not help it out. If it needs help, that's literally like, obviously, if one group needs help, we're supposed to help them. It doesn't state that we have to keep it going, because you're supposed to be autonomous. Autonomous is automated, basically. Each home group should be able to survive on its own. Because if AA had to constantly reinforce people's home group, if that was the structure, then people would be lazy and just expect AA to run it for them. So and here's the long form of tradition 4. With respect to its own affairs, each AA group should be responsible to no other authority than its own conscience. But when its plans concern the welfare or neighboring groups also, so right there, respect to, basically you get to govern your own group as long as you abide by the traditions. Also, but when its plans concern the welfare of neighboring groups also, those groups ought to be consulted. Neighboring groups, so if you're in Calgary and you're gonna create something that will affect your other group, you take it to area. And no group, regional committee, or individual should ever take any action that might greatly affect AA as a whole without conferring with the trustees of General Service Board on such issues, or common welfare is paramount. So and that means if it's going to affect a higher up or a bigger picture than your own home group, structure, if it's gonna, that's what tradition's for, then you bring it to area. If it's gonna be bigger than area, you bring it to world. That is the service groups. It was stated yesterday that learning the traditions is when you do service higher up. That's not. The traditions are a must in every fucking level of recovery. When you have more, when you want to identify as AA as a group, but if you want to take someone through the steps, you don't have to do that. The traditions are literally for when you're identifying as AA as a group. If you send that fucking 7th tradition around calling yourself AA, you have to adhere by the traditions. That is all they are for. They are not personal experience. They are not fucking anything but that. That's still not the one that is, basically it says we need to stay out of Commonwealth should come first. Also surely die. Purpose. Should probably include all who suffer. No. Problem. So maybe it's 6. Tradition 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. And then the long form. Problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. We think, therefore, that any considerable property of genuine use to AA should be separately incorporated and managed, thus dividing the material from the spiritual. So, I would have to assess that a little bit. An AA group, as such, should never go into business secondary aids to AA, such as clubs or hospitals. Hospitals would be treatment centers, which would require much property or administration, ought to be incorporated and set apart that, if necessary, they can be freely discarded by the groups. Hence, such facilities ought not to use the AA name. May not be AA, but I don't know if they're using AA in these facilities, these treatment centers, but there's a lot of treatment centers pushing people through steps using, I know in Drumheller they were using the NA book. They threw the fucking NA book at us and they said, get your steps done, and that was the program. I got kicked out of there pretty quick because I fucking hated it. I was like, you guys, and it was people that apparently are fucking these, I don't know, these, what's the word, like, leaders in Narcotics Anonymous. Like, the people that work at this place are cornerstones of recovery for Drumheller, and they go to the meetings and they're this and they're that, and they're getting paid to push people through the steps in a wrong way of doing it. Just throw a book at them, say, hey, go get your steps done. That's our fucking treatment program. I went through the steps. I got 3 years of clean time, the one guy, when I was there. And fucking their cornerstones of recovery, but they are literally doing everything wrong because nobody has a fucking half a clue understanding of what the traditions are. They're, okay, so where are we? Necessary, so hence such facilities ought not to use the AA name. Their management should be the sole responsibility of those people who financially support them. For clubs, AA managers are usually preferred, but hospitals, as well as other places of recuperation, ought to be well outside AA, not AA incorporated inside, and medically supervised. While an AA group may cooperate with any one such corporation, ought never go so far as affiliation or endorsement, actual or implied. An AA group can bind itself to no one. So the traditions, at the beginning of this video, they're fucking thrown at the back of the book. They're not even part of the steps at all, like in any sort. In any sort, they're just fucking hammered at the back of the book, so people can have a guideline. If all you have is this fucking book, you can start a home group, but you must adhere to those traditions. And just for the home group, your personal recovery, like, shut the fuck up about telling people what they should or shouldn't do about their personal recovery. That has nothing to do with anything. The book is designed, the 12 steps are suggestive only, so everyone can fit. What happens in our country will be vastly different than your condescending fucking idea of what you're trying to impose on the world in a different country. You would instantly have to change 90% of the bullshit you say. If you move your fucking location, you would have to shut the fuck up and change your entire mindset. So I don't know. It's obvious. The more that people are gonna get this awareness, the more it's gonna. Yeah, I already see, like, it's gonna be friction at first, but I've been in this fight for a long time. Even before I realized, like, that very simple statement that the traditions are for the group and the 12 steps are for the person. Like, it took me a long time to get to that because of all this convoluted bullshit. And there are lots of people that must know this. There's no way that they don't. It took me a lot of weeding through the bullshit, a lot of constant going back out, because I just could not accept. People in recovery are more toxic than I've ever been in addiction. People in recovery are more selfish than I've ever been in addiction. People in recovery are more, and it's like these are supposed to be the shining lights of fucking recovery, and I just want to, like, they wouldn't have survived if we fucking ran into each other in addiction. Why in the fuck is their bullshit being spread and surviving when I'm in recovery? So I knew I wouldn't fit. Yeah, I don't know. I've been fighting it for a long time. But I haven't been fighting recovery. That's the thing. I felt like I needed to change recovery because it doesn't fit in today's age. The truth is it does. It fits perfectly, and it probably always will. There may be a couple things coming in with AI that we might have to change some wording or some small structure. But if people really want to pretend like they're adhering to this shit, no Zoom meetings that are videotaping your fucking meeting. There's so much contradiction that comes from people. Get off Facebook if you want. Just stop being a hypocrite. Like, fuck, stop being a hypocrite. To your personal experience, you're not doing anything wrong. But stop imposing shit on the world and being a hypocrite and behind it. Like, that's the most toxic bullshit I've ever seen. And I don't get into recovery to get fucking worse and worse as I go. You are the 5 people you mainly surround yourself around. And I don't want to surround myself around a bunch of toxic pieces of shit. Why do I have to lower my fucking moral values to fit into recovery? That's fucked up. It's structured so I don't have to. Fucking give your heads a shake.